It's a people, it's a community, it's a life, it's a heart, it's a spirit.
Parents of gay children say, I want my son, my gay son, to have the same opportunity to come to me and say, hey, Dad, I'm getting married, as my non-gay son or my non-gay daughter.
The heck would you want a picture of a tattoo of $1,000 on your penis for?
You might just need to satisfy yourself sexually alone at that point.
Do I regret it? Not one bit. Did I think that I would actually take it the next step and do it again?
And what goes into their life, how they handle it. There are 12 houses, and each one of those houses has a particular function.
Look into yourself, think about it, and just be whoever it is that speaks to you.
Hello and welcome to Talking About. My name is Jon Griffith, and today I have a very special guest, Ryan Stephenson. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to be talking about the evolution of hip-hop and the current state of things in the hip-hop community. Well, what brought your interest in the topic to begin with?
Pretty much coming into actually being a baby from hip-hop and growing up, you know, through its birth and when it all started out, and watching from yesteryears to the current state now. It just left a question on a lot of people's mind as far as where is it going to go from here? You know, is it going to die out? Is it going to fade out? Or is it going to keep excelling like it's been doing over the past 20-something years now?
Right. Well, I mean, okay, since you brought the 20-year or 25, however many years the scene has been around, right. Go back to the beginning and start with hip hop and the scene in its infancy. What did it grow out of?
Wow. What it grown out of was music from all different scales of life, because before hip-hop there was no hip-hop, so basically in order to create it we had to actually take pieces from other music, whether it was rock, reggae, or some music themes from the 80s and stuff, 70s, and old classical music, actually to put it together. So creativity was the main focal point of what hip-hop became to be, as far as poetry and starting in the streets and basically wordplay and the music, taking old music vinyls and taking instrumental parts and playing them out, looping them, and just it started from all different types of music. And what happened actually from a couple of old pioneers, when they actually put it together, they started something different. They started something different, and people were liking it. It started from the streets, from the block parties and the parties,
Okay, I mean, just to throw out some of the early names that spring to your mind.
Yeah, Kool Herc, he's like the father of hip hop. He pretty much started from the streets of Jamaica and actually brought it, back over to the States as far as spinning vinyls and playing these instrumentals and stuff like that. It all started from the DJ. Hip-hop started from the DJ. It wasn't actually, no one was actually giving wordplay on the mic, so to speak. It was pretty much DJ contests and stuff like that for that part. And then finally it actually evolved into someone coming on the mic, the MC, which is the master of ceremonies, would come on the mic and pretty much talk to the crowd, so to speak, the crowd motivator. That's pretty much what the MC was, to pretty much get the crowd involved. Listen to my DJ. My DJ is this, and my DJ is that, and it basically started from there.
So, I mean, it started with just announcing and
pretty much announcing and giving word plays, saying things like throw your hands in the air, waving to the side, and it pretty much started from pretty much getting the crowd involved.
And then it kind of evolved into rhythm and rhyme.
Rhythm and rhyme. The next thing then as we started going on, certain artists would come on, like Busy Bee and Kumo D, early artists such as that, and just started saying words, just started doing words on the mic as the DJ was playing, and people were actually, liking that and were actually inspired by that. So that's when actually the MC started, was actually born into, combining with the DJ as far as basically making music. It was something back then, opposed to now. The parties, it was basically fun. It was something for everyone to do to pretty much get our minds off of the everyday struggle from the streets, you know, pretty much from the violence and things like that. We pretty much, we look forward to Friday nights and Saturday nights. You know, we plug up DJ equipment outside on the streets with the street light, you know, and play till 12 o'clock at night, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, you know, and play music. It was something that's you don't see today, pretty much. You don't see that today.
And yes, so you're saying it was a form of escape.
Yeah, absolutely a form of escape and a form of expressing yourself through the music, wanting to be part of the music, you know.
And for a long period of time, it was really a fringe style.
Yeah, actually back then we didn't even think it was gonna go as far as it did today. We didn't. I mean, if you would have asked us this question years ago, back in the early '80s, late '70s, as far as Grammy awards, that wasn't even a thought. Like, oh, we can actually go on stage and get a Grammy for, you know, a hip hop song we created or whatever. No one was thinking like that. It was pretty much fun. The love of the music, that was the main thing. The love for the music. Everyone did it because they loved to do it. You know, there were a lot of people who were making music just for the love of it. It wasn't so much talk about money and stuff like that. I came up in a time to where, in the early '80s, where I was part of a breakdance group. And I opened up shows for people and did a lot of talent shows and all over the tri-state area and in certain states, just doing shows just to motivate crowds. And I was a teenager back then, and back then we weren't actually thinking about what we could get as far as pay. You know, it was love. You know, as long as the crowd was happy and everyone was screaming for us, that was the push, that was the adrenaline, that's what kept us going and wanting to do more, you know, because we love to basically motivate the crowd, just to see the smiles and everybody screaming, you know, that is like a natural high, the performer on the stage. You know, we used to actually do it in school. You know, we used to, in the cafeteria, we used to have these little MC battles. We have one person beating on the table, and we'll just actually have wordplay with each other, throwing words back and forth at each other.
Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up?
Oh, actually, I grew up in Brooklyn. I was born in London. I came here when I was young, and growing up in a different country and basically adapting to certain customs and styles, you know, it attracted me. It definitely attracted me because I came over when hip hop was actually started. So I'm like totally amazed too, going to the parties outside and seeing this totally different type of street that's actually not seen anywhere else. And then the dancers. You know, I mean, I've always loved to dance, and I got together with a couple of guys, and we put together a group, and next thing you know, it's happening so fast. We're on stage. We're on stage performing in front of people. No matter, we come outside with our big radios, because back then we carried this big box radios, and we'll put them on the sidewalk and just blast our music, and people would just walk. They're coming home from work, and they're just stopping just to see us dance. You know, and it was crazy. You know, like today, you'll see people dance. They would dance for money. We weren't even dancing for money. We were dancing because we want to see how big we can make a crowd come. We start off with maybe 2 people, and we want to see if we could, like when we're done, after the tape finished, how much people are out here just cheering us. You know, this is the fame. It's like the street fame. You know, that's pretty much what we do. But honestly, it's honestly the love for it.
But even through something like that, you probably saw the beginnings of an evolution in and of yourself, because did at some point you put out a box and people give you a little something for the performance?
Yeah, they started doing that. Yeah, you know why? Because we had a couple of people who would actually see the show, because we had our regular street clothes that we wore, and you know, a couple of people who basically can see further than what we can see because we're young, was telling us, you know, if you guys were probably, you know, a little color coordinated, maybe you get a few outfits, you probably could take it a little further. We thought about it. We said, yeah, you know, people started giving us a little money. So we, it was like a group of 5 of us in our little small group. And we said, you know, what we could do is the money we collect, we'll get ourselves some tracksuits, you know, get ourselves some white gloves. We'll start looking like performers. So when we started going out to perform and doing shows, we had our performance because we had routines. And a routine looks better when everybody's basically color coordinated.
Right, in sync.
Yeah, everybody's in sync together. We pretty much was picking up styles from watching other performers on stage, like when we watched the Temptations or we watched the Four Tops. You know, they pretty much, or the Jackson 5, they were like dressed alike, and they were doing these, you know, doing their routines to the music, to the beat. So we said we can incorporate that in our, you know, not necessarily their particular steps, but the whole idea of performing together in sync and color coordinated to the beats that we were dancing to, the instrumental beats. You know, because as dancers, we called ourselves that that next to the last instrument. We wanted to become the beat. We weren't trying to dance against it. This is what I pretty much try to tell a lot of inspiring dancers and you know, people who want to get into the hip-hop industry, that you have to be friends with the music. You have to love the music. Some people I see, they try to make music. They try to either rhyme against the music or try to be stronger than the music. We're not more powerful than the music. Can overpower us. If you could become an instrument, the voice is the last instrument. That dance is the last instrument, you know, to basically blend with the music that's played. If you can blend with the music, then everything else becomes beautiful, becomes creative, you know. And that's the part. What I do now, to most people, they know me as, I'm like an artist image consultant. I try to talk to a lot of inspiring, you know, artists that try to come in and try to give them an idea and a history on where we came from and where we're at and how far we can go, you know, pretty much.
I mean, well, as with anything that's new and fringe, if it's working, it starts to become mainstreamed.
Yeah.
And when it starts to become mainstream, just as you started getting a few dollars in the box from your performances,
Right.
you know, people take notice of that, and okay, they're getting their new tracksuits for costume.
Mm-hmm.
If I take it to the next step, yeah, I could really conceivably make a lot of money. When at some point, the money outweighs the creativity, or does it?
Yeah. Well, over the evolution of it, and us coming up into it, as we were going along, we're doing shows. Our group, by the way, the name of our group was BAD. We were Brooklyn Automatic Dancers, and we pretty much were very well known in Brooklyn. And from other groups we used to dance with the Majestic Rockers and the Rocksteady Crews. We were like out of maybe 100 dance groups. I could be wrong with the numbers that danced in the city. We were like in the top 10, top 7, 8, you know, groups that were actually consistently doing it and putting on these shows and performances. Coming up, we actually got management. Management, we're young, we're teenagers, we don't know too much about management. All we know is management is supposed to book shows and, you know, potentially get us money. We found ourselves, through our experience, we're doing a lot of shows, but we weren't really reaping any benefits from it. And I guess we really paid attention to it until it was really all over, because we cared more about dancing and performing to the hip hop shows and opening acts for the hip hop acts, more than, oh, well, where's my check? Because back then, most of the artists in hip hop, it was more for the love of it. Mm-hmm. You know, it was more for the love of it, and that's what kept us practicing, kept us rehearsing, kept us, you know, doing what we do, because we love to do it, regardless of what. We just love to do it. We have to do it. We have to do this night and day. We were actually like, you know, joined to the hip, all of us, our group. You know, every day we meet up at a certain time, and there was nothing else important, you know, but we have to get better. What we did yesterday was good, but tomorrow has to be better, you know. And what I'm seeing, like today, I'm more or less looking at things like the love. You can pretty much see when a person loves something, and that goes with anything, whether it's dancing, singing, or, you know, just being an artist and drawing on a piece of paper. You know, you can actually see in a person the love they have for what they do, for the craft. And I guess when the politics get involved, and I guess the artist, if the artist doesn't show their love, you know, for the music, you're not going to put your 100% in anything. I mean, bottom line, you're not going to put your 100% in anything if you don't have a love for it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, and that's something just like a basketball player. The inspiring basketball star is going to sleep with his basketball next to him in the bed. Wake up, he's gonna bounce his basketball to the table, eat a bowl of cereal, you know, and his basketball is gonna sit right next to him when he eats the cereal. That's the love for what you do. And when you love it, it's just, there's no limit to how far you can take it. And I guess where we're at today, it's still being here, is because of the love for it, you know, not letting it die out. Because back then in the 80s, oh, they were saying, oh, hip hop is just a fad, it's gonna die out. And
right. But and then it gets mainstreamed, and then it gets MTVified and somewhat homogenized.
Mm-hmm. And basically,
if you take point A, the origins of what you're telling me, just the love of it and having fun, right, to point B, the mainstreaming and commercialization, and then eventually, we'll talk about where we are today. But I mean, at some point, it started becoming commercialized.
Yeah, because I guess a lot of people see that they can make money out, because it's like a popular demand. It's like hip hop came on the scene, and everybody wants a piece of it. Everybody wants to see it, because it's something new, it's something different, and I guess I wouldn't call everyone vultures, but to some of them out there, they see this is a way that we can generate, we can make money ourselves. And I guess the main thing we cared about for anybody as far as investors to invest in an artist or group to come in is to pretty much just not take for what we do for granted.
Right. I mean, you do want the success, and I'm not knocking being successful and earning a living at what you love.
Right.
But when the dollar outweighs the art is when you run a risk. Yeah,
you run the risk. The artist actually gets almost like he's being used. Well, you are being used pretty much, because now you're signing contracts to put out music, and from back then, from when we're putting out music, we would actually weed through, like you would have an album, an artist album with maybe 15 tracks on it. This artist would probably make at least about 50 tracks, 60 tracks, and then we'll just weed through the best ones out of it. Today, you're looking at an artist who will probably just make 13, 14 tracks and just try to throw another one together, and it'll just get pushed. In other words, back then, we will actually sift through what we probably would think is good music and actually take a chance on it, opposed to now, it doesn't matter what you make, just put it out, and just take a shot at it, because we got to make money, And I guess for people coming in, we just want those that's in power to pretty much respect our level for talent,
right,
and not basically just put us in the, just throw us out there in the front, to where, I mean, don't lie to us, so to speak. It's like, if I make a track of music and you don't really like it, I expect you to tell me that doesn't really sound too good. I think you need some work in the studio. You should go back and work on your craft, opposed to just saying, oh, that's great, that's going to be a hit, We have those that will lie to the artist, and the artist will actually believe that, yeah, I guess this is great,
But I mean, isn't that part of it becoming an industry? I mean, you have the people who are groomed for a certain level of success. The love of it begins genuine, and then you surround that person with a bunch of people who will tell them how great they are, even when they're not.
Yeah, that's why it's hard, but for those that comes in, you really have to keep some people that you actually grew up with, or who you really, really trust inside, at least one inside of your camp, to where you're going to get some honest opinions about certain things. It's not that easy to do that, but yes, I strongly believe you need to keep people close that you know and you trust, because like you said, once you go mainstream and you get out there, you do get surrounded by a bunch of people you don't know, and you're being talked to. Everybody's in your ear on what you should do. Now your image, how you could have an idea on how you want to come out, and then it'll turn around and be different, because everybody just changed it. Everybody just changed your whole style on what what your idea was. Now you could be a person who wanted to pretty much come out and sing about happy songs, but then you got a management team saying, you know what, you look like you could put a little more a drama into your music, put some more drama into your music. Now if the artist didn't grow up around drama, it's kind of hard to pretty much
right, it's not genuine.
It's not genuine, and it kind of hurts, and people can see through that. People who's from the streets, we got artists that comes out and talk about how they're from the streets, and they've done this and they've done that, toting around their guns and stuff like that, and they grew up in a nice, quiet town, you know, that doesn't even have this type of
suburbia. Yeah, any town in the USA.
It comes back to haunt you after a while.
Right. Which kind of brings me to the changing message along the evolution, you know, of hip hop. When we started talking about, you said go out, have a good time. Yeah, and then there are some stories to tell. And is it the case or is it not the case that, you know, the heavier stories are now more dominant than the go out and have fun?
Pretty much it is now, because I guess through record companies and stuff like that, they would push what they feel as though people want to hear. You know, that's the weirdest thing, because my personal opinion about music, I don't think that people tells us what they want to hear. Artists always manipulates the crowd to what they need to hear. You know, I mean, you didn't know what hip hop was until we brought it to you. You know, and then we started playing it. You started liking it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and it goes with R&B. It goes with rock. You know, it didn't matter. We controlled what was played. You know, if we could touch a certain mood that you have, then okay, then it's good for you. You know, now it's like the crowd is saying, well, we want to hear this or we want to hear that. It's just like with Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was a crooner, and then he turned around and went after a song. I believe the song "What's Going On," and his whole team was like, "No, you're going against the grain. You're going against what you've been singing about. It's not going to work. It's not going to work." But then he pushed it through, and wow, behold, you know,
how many years later, and that's still
that's one of the most powerful songs that he actually put out. So. It's not in the hands of the people. It's in the hands of the artist. What the artist feels, you know, inside. I guess we, as artists, we want the people to identify with us, and vice versa. We want to identify with each other. You know, if I could sing about a song or rap about a song that someone was probably going through the same thing that I was going through. You know, we came up in a time where our music went from dancing, hip hop, and stuff like that. It went into, and then it had its eras. You know, we had another era of more or less like a revolutionary, you know, like fighting the power and basically standing up for your rights, and everybody basically evolved into that, you know. And then it actually turned into the gangster music, the gangster rap music, and then, you know, fighting whatever their cause was in the streets and stuff like that, and then the people fed into that. So it's actually what we give them is what they're going to basically go with. I think big producers and record execs saw that. So, I mean, for the powers that be, what they say should be played, that's what's going to be played. You know, if I have a song saying, if I make a song about kids staying in school, my manager or management team might tell me, nah, they're not going to listen to that. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear more on your street struggles and stuff like that. But yet certain things need to be heard, because music is influential. It's inspiring. To the young kid that sits in the house by himself or whatever, and he listens to his music, it's going to inspire him one way or another, and it's going to stick in his head, whether he's talking about guns or he's talking about books or he's talking about, you know, whatever. Music all across in every genre is influential. So if you take a lot of music about shooting up the streets, you know, I mean, some of these young minds aren't fully developed yet. So
yeah, which was going to bring me to, you know, not only what influence society has on music, what influence does the music have on society and the target communities? Yeah, that, so to speak, is very, very, it's a very touchy thing. Like now, I have kids that listen to hip hop, and any music that I produce or talk to artists has to be in the interest of them developing a positive, you know, nature for themselves. You know, it's always been that way. But you would look at the average person, average child who probably doesn't have a strong family background, and then will listen to an artist who pretty much, not taking anything away from the artist who's expressing themselves, but you got to understand, I mean, even if you put parental advisory on some of these labels and some of these, because a lot of hip-hop, you know, CDs that's being pushed today, you know, we have ratings, you know, to where not to be sold to young children, still going to get into the hands. Which makes it more attractive. Yeah, it makes it more attractive, but it's still going to get into the hands of these children. They're still going to hear it.
one way or another, they're still going to hear it, and however they take it. I mean, there was a time, just a couple of years ago, just to put it here, I had some young boys. They came to see my son. They wanted to come out and play or whatever. So they came and knocked on my door, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, Aaron Swab, I know you into the music. You talk with a lot of artists and stuff like that." I'm like, "Yeah." So they was telling me they were no more than 8, 9, 10 years old, and they were telling me how, "Oh, well, I can rhyme, I can rap." I said, "Oh, okay, go freestyle something from me. I want to hear something. Let me hear your poetic works." So as he started rhyming, and he started talking about how, yeah, I pick up the 4-pound and I bust my gun, and I stopped him right there. I didn't even let him finish. I stopped him, and I'm like, "What do you know about picking up guns and shooting guns? How are you shooting guns in your rhymes?" And what he told me, which made me stop to think, he said, "Well, this is what everybody rhymes about. This is what we rhyme about." So before I had to let all the kids in. I had to sit them down. I wanted to sit them down to basically give them a little description on what hip hop was. Because a lot of the new generation, they don't know the history. They don't even know, some of them never heard any other form of hip hop but certain gangster music, so to speak. So I had to bring it to their attention. I played them some videos and played them some songs they like. He said, "Oh, what's this new song?" I'm like, this song is way older than you, before you were born. So I think it's important for these young generations to get a little history on our music and how it evolved to where it is, because if you let a child believe that hip hop is straight gangster, then they're gonna grow up believing I have to be a gangster just to succeed out here. I mean, and we don't want that, because now we're destroying the culture. We're destroying the culture of children who do not understand music, right? Because we're going beyond music now. Now we're talking about a way of life. Music actually makes you dress the way we do, because we're like the fashion capital of the world. And what we speak and how we portray ourselves in these videos, these kids want to impel that. They want that. I mean, we got some of the artists. Again, not taking anything away from artists, but at the same time, we got these artists who walk around with these big platinum chains and stuff like that, expressing themselves, yes, but to the young mind, I mean, in his whole world, I mean, how will I get that? How will I get that platinum chain? I want the same thing he had, But going to school and getting an education is not an idea on him being successful. His idea of being successful is what he heard in that song. Right. I have to go out and go sell some drugs or something like that. I'm like, no, that's not it. That's not your way of being successful.
Right, and it's not to say that there's not a place for that in the music, right, as long as it's reflective of the life experience of the person. But when the music is creating or steering the listener's life experience, that's where it becomes really powerful.
It becomes powerful, and to small towns and small families, to where they don't have any other upbringing or any other guidance, that becomes their life. And I talk with people who have nothing other than the music, and that's what they tell me. This is their life. I have to go out there and gangbang to be successful, and like, no, it's a small world you live. It's a big world out there. You have to explore it. Right. Have to be open-minded. And basically, when hip hop started, that's what we were, open-minded. Open-minded to all. You have to be open-minded to all music to create music. Right.
And where do you want to see it go?
Actually, everything comes back full circle. I actually believe it will go back to its roots, back to where it started, because there's still a few artists that's out here that still that's trying to keep it alive, trying to keep it safe. We have the Kanye Wests, we have the Mos Defs and the Talib Kweli's that'll talk through the struggles. You can talk about your struggle, but you don't have to promote the violence part of it. See, we want to pull the violence out a little bit, because once upon a time in hip hop, we didn't even curse on none of our tracks. You can even get a song sold if you cursed. Oh, there's a curse? No, we can't push that song out. That's just
can you
how
sell
it
one
was.
without it?
Huh?
No, it's difficult to sell one without it.
Yeah, it's not. Now you'd be lucky to find just a straight English word in a song. I mean, it just watching how it changed, watching how it changed, and basically, it's on how the world perceives you. You don't want the world to look at you in a different light, to where, okay, I can't come into a formal gathering because my whole album is so street, to where certain people in the world, you don't want to walk this earth and certain people are afraid of you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to feel that way. You don't want to project that type of, the image, So expressing yourself is one thing, but then, you walk with this image like you're the toughest and strongest person in the world, you're going to attract a lot of things. You're going to attract government officials watching you. You're going to attract other dangerous people watching you and want to basically test, so to speak, test to see where you're at. Oh, you're a tough guy, huh? Because you know how tough guys are. Tough guys say they're tough, and the only way you know that they're tough, somebody else will be able to pretty much see if you're tough.
Right. Where can we steer the emerging artists in the last 30 seconds of the show? What final thought can you give to a viewer who needs to draw on some resources?
To draw some resources on
staying the path and being true to yourself.
Do the history. You got to do the history. There's a lot of videos, DVDs out now on the history of hip hop.
Okay.
We have a lot of people basically keeping it open. For all inspiring artists that wants to come in, you have to do the history because it'll help the creativity. It'll help you keep it genuine if you want your music to last for the next 30 years.
And is there an email address or a website where people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, actually, people can reach me. I have a page on MySpace as an image consultant, and a spoken word artist.
MySpace.com/Familia.
FAMILYA.
Okay.
They can
and
reach
there'll
me.
be a link to that on the talkingabout.info website. We are out of time. I would love to be able to continue this for another hour, but unfortunately they're going to cut us off in a minute.
Yeah.
And thank you again for being with me. I'm Jon Griffith. For Ryan, thank you for watching us, and I will see you next time. Bye.